The sun peeked over its gray skyline, casting soft amber light across crumbling rooftops and neon signs that hadn't blinked in years. Street hawkers yawned into their hands as they set up their stalls. Buses rumbled over potholes, and somewhere in the slums, a girl stood outside a worn-down gate, barefoot, breath shaking, and heartbroken beyond repair. Her name was Amira. 17 years old. Thin like the wind had been feeding her. Her eyes were wide, dark, and filled with the kind of sadness children weren't supposed to know. In her trembling hands, she clutched a plastic bag holding all she had, a tattered dress, a photograph of her late mother, and a torn Bible missing half of Psalms. Behind her, the iron gate slammed shut. "Don't you dare come back here again," barked a cold voice. It was Mrs. Lady, the woman who had married Amira's father after her mother's death. She stood tall in her silky red robe, nails sharp and lips cruelly painted. She didn't flinch when Amira turned back, eyes wet and lips slightly parted, as though hoping for mercy. But mercy had never lived in that house. "Your father is gone," Mrs. Lady snapped. "This is not your home. You're not even my blood. I'm done feeding street rats." The words cut sharper than any slap. Amira opened her mouth to beg, but all that came out was silence. Her knees buckled slightly, but she stayed standing. The neighbors had gathered, of course, peeking from behind faded curtains, some even stepping out in wrappers and nightgowns, whispering, "Ihia, that girl has suffered. I told you that woman is heartless. She looks like she hasn't eaten in days." But no one moved to help. Mrs. Lady turned and walked back into the house, her heels clicking like a closing coffin lid. The gate clicked shut behind her. And just like that, Amira was homeless. Her stomach growled so loudly she wrapped her arms around it like a child, afraid someone might hear. She hadn't eaten in almost 2 days. She knocked on the door of a church, but the gatekeeper said the place was full. She sat at a bus stop, and the conductor chased her away for looking like a beggar. By nightfall, Amira had found a spot behind a shopping complex, under a leaking zinc roof, beside a trash pile. The smell was horrific, but she was too tired to care. She lay on a piece of carton, curled up like a baby in the womb, and held her Bible to her chest. "God," she whispered, barely audible, "if you see me, please, please do something. Just let someone see me. Please." And then she cried. Silently. Bitterly. A sleek black Rolls-Royce cruised silently down a private road lined with golden trees. Inside, billionaire tech mogul Zain Aleem sat with his arms folded, staring out the window with a face as cold as his bank balance. His assistant, Kelvin, sat beside him. "Sir, the charity gala is tonight," Kelvin said, eyes on his tablet. "You'll need to give your usual 5-minute speech." Zain didn't answer. "Also, your mother called. She wants to know when you'll settle down." "I pay you to manage my calendar, not my emotions," Zain cut in. "Right. Sorry, sir." Zain turned back to the window. But something in his chest, something he thought he had buried long ago, stirred. Amira woke up drenched. Rain had fallen overnight. Her Bible was soaked. Her plastic bag was gone, likely taken by someone else who needed it more. Her hair clung to her face, and her lips were cracked from the cold. She stood up slowly, shivering. That was when she saw a small bakery across the street open its shutters. The scent of freshly baked bread wafted across the road like a cruel invitation. Her legs moved before her shame could stop them. She walked in, barefoot and wet. But before she could speak, the bakery owner stepped forward. "Out!" he shouted, snapping his fingers. "You'll drive my customers away. I'm not here to steal, please. I said out." He grabbed a broom and raised it. Amira ran, shielding her head, and stumbled back onto the street. She fell into the mud. People laughed. A few pointed. Some shook their heads in pity. No one helped her up. But this time, something was different. She wasn't alone. A group of teenage boys, rough-looking, wearing sagged jeans and bandanas, had taken over the space. "Hey fine girl," one of them sneered. "You want come sleep for here? You don't pay rent?" Amira froze. "I asked you something," he yelled, grabbing her arm roughly. She screamed and tried to run, but another boy blocked her path. "Where you dey go?" "I'm not here to cause trouble," she cried. "Please, I'll find somewhere else." But they didn't let her go. One boy shoved her hard to the ground. Another kicked her side. She screamed again, and this time, someone from a shop nearby finally shouted, "Leave her alone." The boys scattered. Amira lay in the mud again, her body shaking, lips split, and one eye already swollen. The shopkeeper, a tired old woman, looked at her with pity, but said, "Better find a place to go. This city no get space for the weak." It was a Friday. Mr. Zain Alim's car had broken down, a bi-rare event, and one his driver cursed under his breath. They had to take a detour through the inner streets of Maruva, close to the very shopping complex where Amira lay curled, bleeding, and unconscious. "Sir," Kelvin muttered from the back seat, "should we?" But Zain had already opened the door. Something had pulled him, like instinct. Like fate. He saw her. A skinny, dark-skinned girl. Her dress torn. Her lips bruised. Her arm bent at a strange angle. But what caught him, what stopped him cold, was her face. Even in pain, it looked like peace. Even in suffering, it held something pure. Zain stepped closer. "Is she breathing?" he asked. Kelvin crouched beside her, checked her pulse. "Yes. Faint, but alive." "Get her in the car." "Sir?" "I said get her in the damn car." Amira woke up in a soft white bed. The smell of antiseptic tickled her nose. She blinked against the bright ceiling light. A nurse stood nearby. "You're safe," she said softly. "You're in a private clinic. You were brought here by someone important." Amira tried to speak, but her throat was dry. "She's awake," the nurse called. Footsteps approached. And then, he entered. Zain Alim. Clad in a gray cashmere coat, trimmed beard, and eyes sharp as winter. Amira looked at him like one would look at a mystery. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you help me?" Zain stared at her for a moment, then said quietly. "Because you looked exactly like someone I once knew. And I failed her. I won't fail again." Tears slid down Amira's cheeks, not from pain, but from something even more unfamiliar. Hope. The mansion with walls of gold, and a girl with wounds still bleeding. The gates opened slowly, humming like a sleeping giant disturbed from slumber. Amira's eyes widened, her small fingers pressing against the window of the black SUV. She could not understand how one person could live in a house that looked like a presidential palace. Trees bowed gently in the breeze. A driveway wound like a painted ribbon up to a marble mansion, wide and bold, breathing wealth with every golden tile and chandelier flashing through its glass doors. She didn't speak. She was too afraid that words would betray her, that if she said it aloud, she would wake up from this dream and find herself back on the cold, wet floor of her stepmother's corridor, where cockroaches were her only roommates. Quietly at first, but it became louder, messier. Like a girl who had held in her pain for too long. Like a dam that could no longer pretend not to hear the storm outside. Zain said nothing. He just sat there, close enough for her to feel he was real. And when the crying faded into hiccups, he gave her a soft smile. "You'll sleep first," he said. "Then tomorrow, you begin again." Amira lay on the bed that night unable to sleep. The pillows cradled her like clouds. The silk blanket was lighter than air. There were no mosquitoes, no water dripping from a broken pipe. No slaps from a woman drunk on her own cruelty. She turned and stared at the ceiling. What if this was just a trial? What if he woke up tomorrow and changed his mind? So she didn't sleep. Not until 5 a.m., when the soft lullaby of the house he finally pulled her into a dream where her mother was still alive and hugging her, saying, "You made it, my daughter. You're safe now. Breakfast was quiet. Too quiet. Zayn sat at the head of the table, flipping through a newspaper. Amira sat at the far end, her hands trembling around a spoon. What do you like to eat? He asked. She looked up, startled. Anything, sir. I can cook it. Zayn chuckled softly. You don't need to cook anything. You're not a maid. You're my guest. Guest. That word hit her chest like lightning and warmth. He pushed a button and spoke to the chef. Minutes later, a plate of warm pancakes with strawberry toppings arrived beside a bowl of fresh papaya and pineapple. Amira ate slowly, afraid it would vanish with each bite. Zayn said nothing, just watched her. When she was done, he nodded. Come with me. That day, Amira was taken to the boutique of the stars. She stared at her reflection in the mirror as the stylist brushed out her tangled hair and twisted it into neat braids. Her skin was cleaned, lotioned. The dull rags she had worn were replaced with a simple lavender dress that hugged her like a gentle whisper. She looked like someone else. But inside, she still felt like her, the girl who had been thrown out like trash. Why are you doing this for me? She asked in the car. Zayn paused. His eyes softened. I had a daughter once, he said. She died 3 years ago. Amira's throat tightened. She would have been your age now. Maybe older. I'm sorry, sir. He shook his head. You don't need to be. Life doesn't give back the people we lose. But sometimes, it gives us a chance to love someone else. She looked out the window. And whispered, thank you. Lady was fuming. She had checked every hospital, every police report. Amira had disappeared. How dare that rat run away, she snapped at her husband. She thinks she can shame me. Me? But something darker had begun whispering in Lady's mind. She saw Amira's name trending on a random gossip blog. A billionaire takes in a strange girl from the slums. No face. No confirmation. But Lady knew. She's trying to destroy me, she hissed. No one's destroying you, her husband muttered, tired of the chaos. Let the girl go. But Lady was not built for peace. She picked up her phone and made a call. I need information. Now. Amira was starting to smile more. She joined Zayn at charity galas, quietly, at first, always a step behind him. But people noticed. The media began to whisper. Who is this girl? Did he adopt her? Is she his goddaughter? Zayn ignored it all. But one night, he handed Amira a document. What is this? She asked. Your education, he said. I've enrolled you in a top private academy. You'll be going there in 2 weeks. Amira froze. She had not seen a classroom since she was 12. I don't know if I can. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You can. And you will. Amira stood in front of the school gate, her hands sweating. Girls with polished shoes and perfect hair walked past, whispering. Is that her? She's the billionaire's project girl. Amira swallowed. But when she walked through the gate, a few people smiled. Not everyone, but enough to let her know the world was not full of stepmothers. That day, she sat in a class with walls painted with hope. And for the first time in years, she laughed. Lady had finally confirmed it. It was Amira. And she was with him, Zayn Aleem. The same man who had ignored her proposal for an NGO grant 5 years ago. Oh, so this is revenge? Lady's lips curled. Let's see how far she goes when the world finds out what trash she came from. She reached for her laptop. And began typing. Amira stood in front of the mirror in her school uniform. Her face looked fuller. Her eyes, once sunken with pain, now shone with curiosity and quiet joy. Zayn watched her from the doorway. You look like your mother, he said gently. She turned. You knew her? He nodded. I saw her once, at a hospital. She had such grace. I didn't know she passed until years later. Amira's lips trembled. She was everything, she whispered. And now, you are too. That night, a blog post exploded online. Billionaire raises girl from the streets, but sources say she was a thief before he found her. The post had photos, grainy, taken from old CCTV footage, and twisted to match a false story. It was Lady's doing. The media went wild. Zayn's PR team was under fire. Journalists crowded the gates. Classmates whispered again. Amira hid in her room for 2 days. She thought it was over. Until Zayn knocked on her door. "Come downstairs," he said. She obeyed. There, in front of dozens of flashing cameras, Zayn stood tall. "This girl," he said clearly, "is not a project. She is not a mistake. And I don't care what the world says, she is family." And just like that, he hugged her in front of the world. Amira stood in front of the massive mirror inside the walk-in closet, one she had only seen in movies. Rows of neatly arranged designer clothes, shoes in glass displays, and handbags that had names she could hardly pronounce lined the room. But Amira? She stood barefoot, her hands nervously rubbing against her long gown, staring at her reflection like she didn't belong. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "May I come in?" Mr. Zayn asked gently from the other side. She opened the door slightly, peeking through, unsure if she looked presentable enough in the creamy satin gown Zara had insisted she wear. Zayn's eyes widened, not with judgment, but warmth. "You look like a story finally becoming what it was always meant to be." Amira's lips parted, but no words came out. Compliments were foreign to her. Sincerity felt strange. "I just wanted to tell you something," Zayn said, stepping inside. "Tomorrow, you'll be meeting someone important. A journalist. Not just any tabloid, but a respected one. She wants to hear your story, on your terms." Amira's eyes flickered. "Why?" "Because the world needs to know you," he replied. "Not as a poor orphan, but as a girl who still stood even after being crushed." She hesitated. "What if I say the wrong things?" "You survived worse than an interview," he smiled. "Just speak your truth." That night, Amira barely slept. Her mind rewound memories like tapes, being shoved, screamed at, eating leftovers from the bin. What would she say? How could she make people understand pain that had no voice? The journalist, a middle-aged woman with gray streaks in her braids, introduced herself as Miss Tara Adebayo. She had a calm presence, the kind that made even silence feel safe. With a camera rolling quietly and a notepad on her lap, she asked the first question, softly. Zayn smiled softly. Exactly. That night, while scrolling through messages on Zara's iPad, Amira froze. A message had come in from a private account. "You think you've escaped me? You were nothing then, and you're still nothing now. The world will see what you truly are." The past was trying to crawl back. But Amira wasn't the same girl anymore. And neither was her story. She turned off the screen. And in that moment, the fire in her chest lit up. She would not run. Not anymore. The grand ballroom of Aleem Towers shimmered with lights, music, and polished glass, but Amira stood quietly by the balcony, away from the glamour. Her silk gown, a deep emerald green, hugged her body with elegance. Her afro puff was styled like a queen's crown. Yet her eyes searched the sky, not for stars, but for answers. 2 years had passed since she was rescued from the streets, and yet, the past still whispered. She heard the glass doors open behind her. Mr. Aleem's voice was calm, "It's okay to still feel it. You've come far, Amira." She turned to him. "Sometimes I still see her, my stepmother. Her laughter. Her eyes when she threw me out. And sometimes, I ask myself, was I really worth saving?" Zayn Aleem took a step closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Let me show you something." He led her downstairs, past the ballroom, through the corridor she once wandered lost when she first moved in. But this time, the hallway wasn't cold. It led to a large door. When he opened it, Amira gasped. Inside was a small, private school. Her name, Amira's Place, was etched in gold at the entrance. Inside, children laughed, read, and played. Many